Hey guys, Jon Henry here at Lake Guntersville. It's a hot June day and I just want to give you guys a little tip on live wells and fish care this time of year. I've fished at almost every level you can imagine, and I've noticed at all those levels there seem to be people who really haven't put a lot of research into how to keep fish alive and how their boat actually works as far as what controls what pump and which ones they should use in hot weather in each circumstance. I'm gonna go over my process for a whole tournament day, post-spawn. I start doing this about the 1st of May, and I quit doing it about the end of September. To my record, I think I've weighed in like 1 or 2 dead fish in my life. First off, the first myth, I hear a lot of people saying I pump outside water in because that's the water they came out of. Well, after say the 1st of May, if you caught your fish deeper than 5 foot deep, you're not putting them in the same water they came out of. It's a lot cooler. Here's my general process for how I start my day fishing in the hot summertime weather when I'm going to keep fish for a tournament. I start out in the morning with an empty live well. I've got an inch or 2 of water that just is residual that came in before I could get it plugged off. I put my live well on the recirculate, which in turn closes the plug. So for a moment, just think about your recirculate and auto switch as a switch to open and close the hole basically in the bottom of the live well. So I put it on recirculate, so now I've stopped all flow of water in and out of my live well. I'm just working with basically a bucket. The next thing I'm gonna do is I carry a 1-inch boat plug that fits my overflow hole. You can check your overflow hole and see what size you need. But I'm gonna take that 1-inch plug that fits my overflow hole. I only have 1 overflow hole in my live well. You may have 2. Same principle. Just get your overflow hole stopped up. And I'll go ahead and screw it in tight just like the drain plug on my boat. Because I found that if you use I used to use like a foam bobber and just push it in there, but the fish will knock that out during the day. So I went to the standard boat plug and I just screw it in. What you don't realize is every time you put your boat in reverse during the day, you're pushing hot water right in through the overflow hole. So that's now I've stopped all flow of water that can possibly enter or exit my live well. You also have your cold water will exit in rough water and waves. So now I've stopped all of that. There's no water leaving or coming in my live well. It's all what I've made. Next step, first thing in the morning, I buy a 22-pound bag of ice and I just open it up and just use this ice as water. It's gonna melt. So to blast off the tournament in the morning, I would just shut my lids now, and that's how I would go. But for the principle of showing you how I'm gonna work this, we're gonna go ahead and fill it up like when I catch my first fish, what I go through next. Okay, we've put our 22-pound bag of ice in there. We got just a small amount of water that we picked up. We got all of our holes stopped off so that we're working with a very closed container. The next thing you're gonna need is some type of additive. There's several good brands out there. I've used Please Release Me a lot and had good success. I've used Rejuvenate all of my life, had great success. This is a TH Marine product called G-Juice. I've not used it as long, but I've had good success. I don't think there's any difference in them. What you're needing here is something to combat the chlorine that might be in the ice, and you need something to combat the ammonia from the fish during the day that they produce and put in the water, and it will actually poison themselves. So I will go ahead and add the correct amount. I'll go ahead and put this in a lot of times before I even start fishing on tournament day so that that's ready to go. We got our additive in there. We got our ice to start the day. Now usually, no matter what at this point, I'll just go ahead and close her up and go fishing. And we'll get to now what I would do when I first catch the first fish. We're now out on the lake and we've caught our first fish in the tournament. That needs to be put in the live well. So I've got a small amount of water and my large amount of ice that I put in there earlier. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I've got this set as of right now on recirculate, which the only reason I have it there is to stop the flow of water, period. So to fill up, some boats say fill, mine says auto. I'll go to auto and then I'll turn my aerator on manual. So what that's gonna do is manually run water until I turn it off from the outside of the lake into my live well. Because we plugged off our overflow hole, you've got to kind of keep an eye on this because you don't have any way for water to escape. It'll actually pump the boat full. I usually go back to fishing, but I kind of got an idea in my mind of how long it's going to take for that to fill up to near the overflow hole. You don't actually want to get it too full because that eliminates your water falling through the air as it comes out of the recirculator pump, whereas actually your parts per million of oxygen increases as your water falls through the air. So I like to, pump mine up to about, an inch or two away from the overflow hole that I plugged off, and then stop. And then we're gonna be done putting outside water in our live well for the day. Okay, so now we've got our water set up on our first fish catch. We've got fish in the live well. I'm gonna show you how I set up my pumps to run the entire day. You have an option to pump fresh water in from the outside, which is how we filled our boat up, our live well up originally. And you have an option to turn over the same water you already have, which is recirculate, which is sucking water from the bottom of your live well and just taking it up through a hose and putting it right back in the same water. No more today are we going to run water from the outside in. We've got live well additive in there to make it okay to use the same water. It's going to prevent ammonia poisoning, and it's going to prevent any chlorine damage to the fish, from the ice we've used or going to use. That being said, that gives you an idea of the two pumps you have an option to run in your boat. So for me at this point, I'm going to move my selector switch over here from auto or fill to recirculate. Once again, I've shut off all options for water to come from the outside of the lake into my boat. I'm going to keep my water all day. So now that I'm on recirculate, with my boat, it has the same switch I just choose over there. Your boat may have two switches. You're going to turn your recirculator pump on, and you're going to want to select the lowest timer. By lowest, I mean lowest amount of time in between, so it's going to run the most. I've had different boats over the years that one of them the high ran the most, one of them the low ran the most. Just sit at home one day for 5 minutes with a stopwatch and figure it out. Early in the day, I want it to run on the low timer where it doesn't run as much, but after it gets on up warmer in the day, I want to go to the high timer where it runs the most. And that's how I keep mine all day. I don't ever run it on continuous, I just run it on automatic, so it's on and off, on and off. It gives the fish a break from fighting, the pumps, the current and all that. Another modern technology, if you will, is these oxygenator pumps. My opinion on that is, I don't want to run that all day. I've kind of developed my own little process. When I sit down to start my boat to move holes to a different spot, I'll turn my oxygenator on. When I pull in there to fish, I'll turn my oxygenator off. So it's almost giving me a timer, run on it. And I do that because if you stop and think about how the oxygenator works, it's air blowing across an air stone. Therefore, you're pumping hot air right into your live well you've worked so hard to get cold. In my opinion, I don't want to run it constantly. I do run it some, but I don't run it constantly. Okay, so now we've set our live wells up. We've got our pumps running on timer. We're going to talk now about how to maintain that for the day. It's so much easier to maintain cold water than it is to try to cool your water in the middle of the day. A lot of guys put fish in there and don't add ice early, they add ice late. It just eats your ice immediately because it's so hot. So I started my day with cold water. My live well lids are cool, my walls are cool. My boat's gonna keep my water much cooler all day, much easier. But what I'll usually do is I'll bring an extra cooler with me, and I can usually bring a small enough one to store it in one of my storage compartments. And at home, this one's thawed out a little bit, but at home I'll keep 3 of these 1-gallon jugs. And this is just my favorite one, just a little tip. This Gatorade, which you need to be drinking a lot of in the summertime anyway, something to get hydrated. Comes with a really sturdy jug with a good cap on it, way better than the old milk jug. Comes with a nice handle to use, to get it in and out of your freezer and in and out of your live well with. And it's just a good all-around jug to freeze. I'll fill it full of regular tap water at home and put it in a deep freeze. I usually carry 2 of them a day. So I'll put the 22-pound bag of loose ice in there. And then your normal tournament this time of year is, safe light to 2 or 3 o'clock. So about 11 or 11:30 in the morning, depending on how many fish I have at that time, but if I have several fish by then, I will add one of these 1-gallon jugs to my live well. Just put it right in there with the fish. It won't hurt them. And I will leave, I'll shut my lids and just go right back to fishing. I'll leave that until it's melted. Once it's melted, it's done its job. I'll take it right back out and just put it in a storage compartment. So I'll probably run 1-gallon jug about 11 or 11:30 and another one about 1 o'clock. And that maintains the cool water I've worked so hard to get all day. Now, if it gets really hot out, I'm talking like upper 90s, I'll bring a white towel with me and I will lay it across my lids just to help reflect the sunlight, but I've not found that to be a problem unless it's really, really hot. I also carry a Sprite or a Mountain Dew, something with citric acid, in case I hook a fish deep, and I will hold them over the side of the boat as soon as I catch them if they're bleeding, and just pour that Sprite right in their mouth on the cut. I had a biologist one time on a guide trip, and he told me that helped with the bleeding of a fish, the citric acid. So I do carry one of those, and I'll just pour it on the fish out in the open air, and then put the fish in the live well. And that's always helped me with the deep. I of course cut my hook off if it's a gut hook fish, and I also carry a really premium pair of dikes. But other than that, man, those tips right there should really cut down on your dead fish and give you the best chance possible to weigh in your 5 biggest fish and 5 alive at the end of the day.